children. And somewhere in Africa,
Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. We're broadcasting in over 700 stations on Pacifica and NPR and low-power FM and college and community radio stations, on public access TV and PBS TV stations, and both TV satellite networks, on Dish Network Channel 9415 Free Speech TV and 9410 Link TV. And we're on DirecTV Channel 375. And we're video and audio podcasting at democracynow.org. Our headlines also available there in Spanish for any radio station to take or for you to read in transcript form. I'm Mimi Goodman with Juan Gonzalez. Juan?
Well, thousands of Syrians have taken to the streets of Damascus to protest Sunday's U.S. military raid that killed 8 people in the Syrian village of Abu Kamal, 5 miles from Syria's border with Iraq. The U.S. Embassy in Damascus is shut down for the day and surrounded by heavily armed police. On Tuesday, Syria lodged a complaint with the UN and ordered the closure of an American school and cultural center. The Assad government is demanding a formal apology from the U.S. and has threatened to cut off cooperation on Iraqi border security. On Monday, Syrian Foreign Minister Walid al-Muallim called the attack an act of, quote, terrorist aggression.
Killing civilians in international law mean an terrorist aggression. The American do it on the daylight. This means it is not mistake. It is by determination, by blunt determination. For that, we consider this criminal and terrorist aggression. We put the responsibility on the American government, and they need to investigate and return back to us with the result and explanation why they did it.
The United States has refused to acknowledge the attack, but unnamed U.S. officials said Monday that Special Operations Forces had targeted and killed an Iraqi al-Qaeda militant known as Abu Ghadiya, who allegedly smuggled weapons, money, and fighters into Iraq. But local eyewitnesses, as well as the Syrian government, say the U.S. commandos killed 8 civilians. 5 of those killed were from the same family, and the survivors denied that the dead had any ties to al-Qaeda. The New York Times reports the raid appears to reflect an intensifying effort by the Bush administration to find a way to attack militants beyond the borders of Iraq and Afghanistan.
We're joined now by 2 guests. Joshua Landis teaches Middle East history at University of Oklahoma and writes a daily newsletter on Syrian politics called Syria Comment. He joins us from Norman, Oklahoma. And we're joined from Washington, D.C. by investigative reporter and contributing editor at The Nation magazine, Robert Dreyfuss, author of Devil's Game, How the United States Helped Unleash Fundamentalist Islam. His latest piece is called The End of International Law. We welcome you both to Democracy Now! I wanted to go to Josh Landis first in Oklahoma. Talk about this raid. It hasn't gotten very much attention yet. Thousands of Syrians took to the streets. What exactly happened?
Well, the U.S. claimed that they went to kill Abu Ghadiya, who was an operative, a facilitator, as they called him, and helped for years to smuggle people across the border. Syria claims that they did not kill him, that they killed his family. We're not sure what's exactly right. But this indicates a larger failure on the border between the United States and Syria to come to some kind of political agreement on how to deal with the border, because Syria has been willing in the past, but it's asked for a political price.
Well, the Syrian government has condemned the raid, but there have been some press reports that it actually may have green-lighted it, because there appeared to be no interference with the U.S. forces that crossed the border.
I think that is spurious. Syria would never green-light a raid on their own territory. I mean, that's some kind of, I think that's false information. Syria is very unhappy about this. A year and a half ago, at Sharm el-Sheikh, Secretary of State Rice asked Walid Muallim, who you just heard, to send 2 American generals to Damascus to restart intelligence sharing that had been broken off due to the worsening Syria-U.S. relation. Syria said we are eager to do it. We have shared interests on the border. We don't want al-Qaeda coming back and forth. But they asked for a price. They said, you have to send back the U.S. ambassador as a token of our cooperation and to show that we're working together Rice would not do this because, for whatever political reasons, the president demanded that Syria do the things it's demanding without any kind of reward. And that caused a political agreement that could have established better security on the border to collapse. And it left the military in Iraq very frustrated. And they have this problem. And the only way that they were left to solve this problem was through military means, and that means going over and killing these people. And
also, what is the impact of a raid like this on domestically within Syria? There were reports this week that a dozen human rights activists, pro-democracy activists in Syria were sentenced to terms of 2 years or more in prison. Could this possibly result in an even greater crackdown on those dissidents who appear to be pro-Western in their views?
Well, certainly it doesn't help the dissidents. You know, the dissidents are trying to look like victims. That they need that in front of the Syrian people. The trouble is raids like this, the Syrian makes it very easy for the Syrian government to say that any opposition to the government at this time of national crisis is a form of cooperation with the United States, and it's undermining the security of the state, and nobody wants to be like Iraq, and that they're, in a sense, agents of the West, and that's what the government accuses them of, and the people tend to go along with it when they get very angry like this, and they see that Syria is being attacked. Anybody would.
The White House has refused to comment on the raid into Syrian territory. This is an excerpt from Monday's White House press briefing with Dana Perino.
Jim, what I can tell you is that I am not able to comment on reports about this reported incident, and I'm not going to do so. You can come up here and try to beat it out of me, but I will not be commenting on this in any way, shape, or form today or tomorrow.
Nobody. If it comes, it's going to come from here, and so it's not going to. Nothing's going to come out of it.
I don't believe anybody is commenting on this at all. April.
Dana, why can't you comment? Is it a reason for national security, or is it political? I mean,
to give you an answer to that would be commenting in some way on it, and I'm not going to do it.
But I mean, Dana, you can't give us anything. I mean, this is a major issue. This is a major issue.
I understand the reports are serious, but there's not something I'm going to comment on in any way.